Welcome to the 7997 podcast. We are your hosts, Chris and Jackie.
Hello.
And as always, every week, every day, every year, we're trying to get closer to each other and hopefully closer to you.
Hey, guys.
So this week we are talking about the difference between maybe white racism versus black bias. And I come to this point from, I think, a lot of those who you see relocating to Mexico are really just leaving the U.S., I should say, in general, and moving abroad, are doing so because of many reasons, the political environment, the financial environment, but also the racial environment, the tension, the death, the killing, the violence against people of color. And I think that's something that when you are raised up in it, you are trained in it, you have a certain expectation and a certain reaction to things. So when you come into an environment that is different, that doesn't have maybe as much overt racism, that maybe it isn't built into every systemic structure in their environment, or it is, or it's built into it in a different way. And that, you know, I think when you're in America, you see a white face and it gives you a certain, to me, I think an instant bias to some extent. Not that it's unwarranted, not that it's not from experience and repeated offense, but it is a natural
logical
reaction.
PTSD.
Right, logical PTSD. Yeah. Very good, very good statement. I like that.
My pleasure.
So I think some of those things you carry with yourself here.
The baggage.
When you leave the country, you don't get to leave that baggage behind sometimes the way you want to. And it's something that you have to, I think, work at, train out of yourself, learn to relax a little bit. Especially when you come to some place like here in San Miguel, where there is still a lot of other immigrants from the U.S. who bring their same racism baggage down with them as well, who still think that, you know, I'm back home and I can talk to you however I want to talk to you. That is not the case. So I think, you know, you had a friend come down, Mona, came and stayed for a couple weeks, came to visit the city. And she had I don't want to say altercation, but a run-in, a discussion with someone on the plane. And I want you to share that story because I think it's sort of indicative of
what we're talking about. So, Mona was in first class. And
as Mona tends to be.
You know what? I don't know.
Is she not?
I don't know. I don't know. But she was in first class that time.
I just know Mona to be a very upstanding, upper class individual.
She is.
Who is maybe not flying first class.
Right. She may. I'm going to say
she takes that option, I think, if she has that option.
I will definitely say she probably does first class, not necessarily because she can just afford it, but because she's tall.
Yeah, I can see that.
I can see that.
Some extra knee
space. Yeah, man, for some legs.
Yeah.
But every now and then we fly first class too, y'all. Every now and then.
When we can afford it, it's nice. And when we can't afford it, it is not nice.
The hip room. Moving on. So
we need to talk about that too. Airline seat space in Mexico.
God bless us.
Literally, genetically, there are smaller people. We don't fit into that genetic smallness.
Man.
Airplanes are tight to begin with. And
My
then you
Lord.
say, this population is shorter? Let's give them even less leg
You're
room.
welcome. Yeah. So back to the story. So very simply, y'all, Mo and I were just chatting and she goes, I had a conversation and that's thunder. I'm telling him that so that we can make sure we safe, y'all. So anyway, make sure y'all don't see us.
Half the courtyard is covered, the other half is not.
Right.
So if rain comes, we need to run quickly and get this stuff out there. Out the rain.
So just a very casual conversation with her seatmate. Very nicely, hi, how are you? How did you get your ticket?
Why are you worried about how I got my ticket?
But what do you mean, how did I get my ticket? So in a clutching of the pearls moment.
How dare you?
Being the kind, loving sister Christian girl that she is, she kindly just let her know the same way you got yours. And they didn't speak. for the rest of the flight. So I don't know if that was from her starting point to Dallas or if that was from Dallas to Querétaro. But kindly let you know the same way you got yours.
Yeah.
So now the question is, how did you get your ticket? But to the whole question of it is the black bias. See, I don't necessarily like the way you have that.
Okay. What's your issue with black bias? Because in some way it puts some responsibility on us, which I know you don't want to hold on to. But if you're in an environment, and this is my point, and this is not me saying that racism doesn't exist or that there is no racism. Of course it does. Of course it happens all the time. I'm just saying it doesn't happen every time.
That's right. It doesn't happen every time, but it just happens so often that we're conditioned. And I think that's just the word that is so annoying to me, that we are conditioned.
Yeah.
Right? And it really takes either concerted effort or the other party letting us know that they're not being racist.
Right.
I.e., same visit. We're hanging out in the Yardine and we're watching all this cultural stuff going on. And I call them light-skinned cousins because I really believe we're all family. I'm really serious. Y'all know I love Jesus. So we all God's people.
Blonde hair, blue eyed Jesus?
We all God's people. So I really I do not, how do you say, shun them as if we're not related. We're family, whether they want to accept it or not, right? We're the same people. And I actually am a third white. Thank you, Xavier, for my DNA kit for Christmas one year. So I understand that we are more connected than divided, right? Like on a human level. So anyway, nice white guy, he entreats us in a conversation and he goes, I'm Canadian. I'm not, he's letting
I'm not American. I'm not racist American.
Right, I'm a cool white person. I don't know what he's trying to.
I'm your cool northern cousin.
Right, I am your non-racist Caucasian cousin.
Yeah,
and we were like, okay, you Canadian person who is not racist. Yeah. And let's be clear, there's racism in Canada too,
and there's racism everywhere.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so don't hide behind your Canadian flag and your maple syrup.
And that might also make me even more wary that you feel like you have to announce
to say
yourself.
That. And I think that's
which is sad in and of itself.
Right. And I think that's the biggest thing is like, why can't we just talk to each other as people?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just be regular. Have a regular conversation. Like, hey, my name is Karen. What's yours?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm here on vacation. What about you guys? It's never a give and take.
Right.
That I've experienced from our Caucasian cousins. It's always, I need information from you.
Yeah.
And it is the most challenging thing.
Yeah.
It's the most challenging thing. And I really have to get myself under wraps. And remember I told you, like, when we first got here, I know for sure, we would be walking on the street, right? Or in a cafe somewhere eating. And, they go, Buenos dias. And I'm like, you American, you speak English. And I'm just going, hi, how are you? Just an ugly attitude.
Yeah.
And then, and I'm like, oh my God, they're just Spanish.
White people are everywhere.
Yeah, like it's a white Mexican. Like,
they were colonized by the Europeans as well.
And
yes.
so I had to check myself, like, they're just saying hello.
Yes.
And so stop thinking they're trying to avoid me.
Right. So that situation, you brought your bias.
I brought my bias.
That you did not have to bring.
Didn't have to bring it. She could have stayed home.
Right. And that to me was just one of the most complicated. Oh, they're saying Buenos dias because they don't want to speak to me.
Yeah, I know.
And that to me was just like,
I can make stuff hard.
As the husband of a woman, y'all know how women mind can think sometimes. But anyway, back to your story. So I get your point of
I'm gonna fight you.
The woman came into the conversation wanting something.
Yeah.
Rather than initiating a normal conversation.
Right. Because she could have been like, hey, I got a good deal on Priceline.
Right.
What about you?
Or I got screwed over because I went through this site and now I see that everybody else is getting, 20% cheaper price than I am.
Something,
Right.
something.
So like you don't really know the root of that conversation unless you
give
continue
it a chance.
the conversation.
And so my husband wanted to hear, well, what did Mona say? He wanted to
and
hear.
Mona was like, I'm not dealing with it. I'm shutting it down.
Yeah. But to your point, there could have been more.
Right. So I think
meaning positive more.
Right. So first it is the conversation initiator. They have the burden and responsibility to enter that conversation in good faith and let it work up to the thing that maybe you want to get out of the conversation.
Yeah.
We don't have to come up and just like, hey, let me hit that. Like, no, you can't sweet talk me a little bit first. Like you can't know me, you know what I'm saying? Like
I do.
Let's not jump to the end point. Let's actually ease into it,
the
build our way up
conversation,
to
right.
it. And then there's also, I think, less of a responsibility on our end, but still could be a responsibility to say, hey, this doesn't have to be a racial situation.
Just
let's see where it goes.
Let's go back and forth a little bit. Give them a chance.
But also, like,
be patient.
If you're somebody who is having that nerve tapped on all the time, it's difficult to slow down and say,
that is correct.
This could maybe not be the thing that I think it is.
That is correct.
Whereas for us, we're not having those type of interactions as often as we did when we were back home in the U.S. So maybe for us, it's easier. Whereas for Mona, she's traveling the world. She's in different places, but she's in the U.S. a lot. And I'm sure gets all of that nerve touched all the time. Right. So it's like, I don't even want to get into this. Right. I don't have the patience for it.
I ain't playing your game.
Stop. Slow down. Right. So that's interesting. I think, what we do have here from other immigrants, our light-skinned cousins, is sort of that unnecessary questioning at times.
I think you hit a good point. There is no ease into the conversation. And I hit a good point. There is no give and take. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's y'all retired? What y'all do for a living? You live here? Wow. It's like.
But even a lot of the questions that I
get. They're vetting us. I don't need to be vetted.
I get that feeling sometimes, but
I'm sorry, y'all.
A lot of the people here are vacationing. So they assume that we always see you. You don't look like you live here. You're probably vacationing like we are.
And the thing is, I guess they could look like they live here because they are white Mexicans. But
right. But if you're here vacationing, you see black people in the city of Mexico. Your first assumption is that they're vacationing like I'm vacationing, not necessarily that I live here and you can't. So I don't necessarily take. Some of those questions usually starts out with, "Hey, how long are you guys staying?" Oh, we live here. To me, that's not an abnormal question. If I go on vacation anywhere, that's an opening question. That's an ease-in question to get into the conversation.
Yeah.
If the first question is, "Oh, do you rent or do you buy?" Or "Where did you buy your house?" Right. To me, that feels like you're trying to vet. You're trying to get into. Yeah. You're trying to, measure, is my house big enough compared to what you have?
Right. Do y'all have a housekeeper yet?
Right.
Like, that is not the standard. I'm not trying to meet your standard.
Right.
Like, how? That's not necessarily making it.
Yeah.
Because I got a housekeeper. Like, what? They ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Period. They ask a lot of questions.
Right. And a lot of people move down here to be able to afford a certain lifestyle they could not afford at home. So while you could not afford someone to cook your meals and be your housekeeper in the U.S., you come down here is a lot more affordable. Yeah. And some people are like, that is their sign of making it here.
Yeah.
And they want to see if you've made it yet.
Some people just like to pay their doggone electric bill.
That's it.
I'm just saying.
It's not that hard. So I think the interesting thing that I look at is we're in an environment where, I want to think that, hey, there's not many white people here. But there's actually more kinds of white people here. There's obviously the immigrants that come over. As a black person,
we have to understand that.
Right, and we have to understand the Mexican dynamic that they have white people and non-white people as well. And there is a difference in social economic status between those two groups. The racism isn't as harsh here, but there is some here. That's not saying that it doesn't exist. And also we bring to the table to that group of people not only blackness, but also Americanness. And I'm going to say that a second time in case y'all didn't get that because the truck was rolling by. Not only blackness, but we are Americans. And that actually demands a certain type of respect around the world, strangely enough, which I think over time is being eroded by,
friends,
current and past presidents. The orange, yeah, okay. For those of you listening to the podcast, we have a new orange pop filter windscreen on top of the microphones, and she pointed to the color orange to denote a former president who is now on trial for many atrocities against
who could
human
possibly
nature.
get back in. Y'all don't let this happen, please.
Right.
So James Brown, please vote. Go get some teenagers registered to vote and have them vote. Elders, get them to the center to vote. Please, y'all go vote. Speaking of which, we should vote too because we are still citizens.
Mail-in,
but we need to do a mail-in vote.
Yeah,
and we can do that with our consulate office. Just a little side note.
Yeah.
But yes, we should listen and we should take our time. I do agree. And I was just going to say, being American, I learned about that, and it made me feel very weird when I visited South Africa because of the colonization there. And this is just my own opinion, and I think it's quite accurate, but if a land has been colonized, the indigenous people of that land are always on the bottom of the totem pole. Always, right? So in South Africa, you have indigenous people, i.e. the Africans. What's one of the groups? Trevor Noah's family.
The Tosa.
Yeah, the Xhosa people.
Yeah.
The Xhosa people. That's one of the indigenous groups, right? So they're on the lowest part of the totem pole.
Yeah.
But of course, they were the originators there, right?
Yeah.
They're black. I'm black. But even though we're, I guess, maybe an American system, we're both black, and could be held to some kind of, discrimination. In South Africa specifically, we would go up in rank because we're American.
Right.
And it made me feel so weird because I went there, and especially with that, anyone who's been, y'all can leave us a comment, okay? If you've been and you've had that experience, it's like you're there with your people.
Yeah.
But then the system tells you that there's a difference between you and your people.
Right.
And that thing, it burned me up and broke my heart.
Yeah.
It was very hard to accept.
Yeah.
I hated it.
I think what I am trying to do, what I'm trying to request of those of us who come down here to leave the racism in America is to let your guard down some.
A little bit, yeah.
Don't ever put that guard all the way away. Don't ever fully expose yourself. That's a recipe for disaster.
But because their power is lessened.
Yeah.
They're not picking up the phone, even though 911 is the same one in both countries.
Yeah.
They're not calling 911.
Right.
Because we're out walking our dog.
Right.
Right? So their power is almost minuscule.
Right.
The only thing they really can't do is just hurt your feelings in a conversation.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And be annoying. So I think that helps.
Yeah.
To know that there is no power.
Yeah.
So
I think to me, it's disappointing. It is almost a waste of a great environment if you come down here
with all that baggage,
and that nerve exposed, and you're not enjoying yourself. You're not enjoying this environment, the extra freedoms in certain areas that you're afforded by being here. You're not able to take advantage of because you are so sore from being constantly beat in the United States. I'm not saying that's the easiest thing.
Yeah.
Probably take some therapy for some folks, for sure. But if you can, release that baggage, be here, be conscious, and just enjoy the space for what it is. You're going to learn some new burdens to carry, some new nerves to get pushed here.
So let that one go.
Let that one go
by the wayside.
Don't throw that on top of the new stuff you're going to get here. Like, let that baggage go. So if I can, say anything to my people, to my folks, both sides of the aisle, brown skin, light skin cousins, leave your racism at home. They don't need it here. Leave your, hurt feelings and PTSD if you're black folks at home as much as you can. You don't need it here. Still protect yourself. Still
be wise.
Be
right?
wise.
Yeah, always be wise.
But give yourself some space to breathe, some air, some fresh air, some time without that burden,
that drama.
Yeah. Because we're still carrying, many of us, PTSD out of slavery over generations.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much stuff we have to work through. Let's be in an environment where we hopefully don't have to work through that stuff any longer. It can be healed. We can put a Band-Aid on it. And it doesn't have to constantly get ripped off every single time we try and heal it. So I guess that's my sermon for this week.
I guess he was sneaking to preach. Go on, preacher.
So if you like what I was saying, just throw a little money in the donation basket, in the buy me a coffee basket.
Oh, help us, Lord.
And like, comment, and subscribe, and watch another video. And if you haven't watched our video on is San Miguel the best city to relocate to in Mexico, watch that video. I have that linked at the end. And as always,
Cuídate.
Arias Garce. Take care and take a chance. We'll see you guys next time.
We got to go heal ourselves, huh?
This is the 7997 Podcast, your home for raw and honest conversation, featuring Chris and Jackie, with new episodes every Sunday, wherever you get your podcasts.